So today I am going to make a skirt out of this lovely green cord that I got, and I'm going to make the skirt using an existing skirt that I like a lot, but it's got a bit scruffy. So this skirt is just a nice denim-y one, but the fabric's starting to go and it looks a bit scruffy, so I'm going to make it onto a nice green corduroy. This skirt used to be a dress. It had that a bit up here, which I cut off because I had two of them, and so I wear one as a dress and this one as a skirt. Let's get making. So to start off with, I'm going to turn the skirt that I'm going to copy inside out. And this skirt, if we have a look at it, is made of 4 panels. So we have front panel, back panel and back panel. Now you can see where I've added elastic to make the waistband. So we've got to remember to factor that into the actual skirt. Okie doke. For this skirt, I'm going to put a zip on it. Where have I put my zip? There we go. I'm going to put a zip on it instead of the buttons on the front, because I tried to make this skirt before with the buttons on the front and it didn't go very well. So I've learned from this. I'm going to adapt the design slightly. So instead, it's going to be a 4-panel skirt with a zip at the back and a button closure as well. Okie doke. So first things first, I'm going to turn my fabric inside out, or right sides together. Normally I say right side is the bright side. This is the same colour on both sides, so the side with the texture this time is the right side. Now this fabric, it's called cord, or you could call it a fine corduroy, has quite a lot of stretch to it, so it's got stretch going that way, but it doesn't have any going that way. So I'm going to want the skirt to be able to stretch on my hips a little bit, so I'm going to make the skirt so that the panels go along the length of the fabric. So I'm going to fold it into quarters, like so. Smooth it out nicely. When working any project that has cotton in it, you're going to want to pre-wash the fabric because it can shrink quite a lot. I haven't pre-washed this because it's stretch, I'm not too worried, but I would recommend pre-washing the fabric normally. I got too excited and impatient to sew. Okay, so let's have a look at this skirt. I think on this one all the panels are actually the same size. So there's a small waistband at the top, the panels start quite narrow and go out wide. There's a bit of a curve to the outside and then a little bit of a curve on the inside. So let's check the other side to see if it's the same. Again, got the panels, they go a bit curved on the outside and a little bit of a curve on the inside. So I'm going to cut out 4 of these. So I'll take a marker, check that it works. Yes. Okay. Going to position the fabric nice and central, and I'm going to do the whole length of it. Actually, a little bit easier on this will be to open up the skirt, because this one can. That way I'm working with a bit less. When you're copying a garment, just take a really good look at it and you'll see everything you need to know, really. Okay, so I'm going to start at the bottom here and draw a line. Okay, check that. Then I'm going to come up this centre line here in a fairly straight line. So I'm just copying the shape of the fabric. Okay, now I'm going to stretch out the waistband. There always pin it on if you find that easier. I'm just going to move it as I move it. That's there. And that goes to there. Good. And now I'm going to fold the fabric back, keeping that seam flat. See it there. Straighten it out. And I'm going to draw that curve there. Okay, so there's my basic skirt shape. I'm going to chuck that to one side. And so I'm going to want to add a little bit of seam allowance. I'm going to add 1 centimetre seam allowance on each side. When I cut it, I'm going to leave 2 centimetre seam allowance at the top and 2 at the bottom to do the hems. Okay, let's cut it. While I'm here and I've got this long strip, I'm going to make the waistband. So for that, I'm just going to cut a strip that's twice as wide as you want the waistband to be. You can just eyeball this if you feel confident. If not, you can always measure. You can fold it back on itself, make sure you're not going in. Good. That wasn't particularly straight, but okay. I'll chuck that down there. We have our waistband piece and nearly have our 4 panels for the skirt. Excellent. So we have the front of the skirt and then the back of the skirt. Should I add pockets? I'm thinking I might add some pockets. Can't decide. Because it's a pencil skirt. This is Daphne. I like adding pockets to things because who doesn't like pockets? Daphne's hips are just a little too big for this. But I think if we put pockets here, they're going to bulge. They're not really going to sit right. Maybe? No. No. I'm going to leave it. No pockets today. Okay. So I'm going to get on with the sewing. Let's start with the most difficult part. Choosing your thread colour. No, I'm kidding. We're going to sew the zip in first. So first of all, I need a thread of a bobbin. Okay, so my machine is threaded. I am going to do, I think, French seams on this and then maybe reinforce them. So for French seams, we start by, I got this wrong last week, sewing the wrong sides together. Instinct says to sew the right sides together. I'm going to start by sewing the wrong sides together. Okay, and I'm going to put the zip in first because that's the trickiest part, and if you get the trickiest part out of the way, it makes everything else easier. So I'm going to pop my zip, is going to go to, where's the pin? There's a pin. My zip is going to go to here, therefore I shall sew up to there. So a French seam. Let's go. I'm going to start with a little back stitch and then sew down to the end and do another little back stitch when we get there. Okay, so I'm going to trim that now nice and close to the stitches. And then turn that so it's now right sides together. So you can see the seam is currently on the right sides and the wrong sides has a nice neat line. So now it's going to be right sides together and we're going to sew another line down. Starting again with that little back stitch. Taking care to make sure the seam is nice and at the edge. Don't want to waste any fabric here. There we go. So there's our back centre seam done. So open that out, you see it's a nice straight line, and we have our area here for the zip to go in. So now I'm going to take my zip, goes that way around, and I'm going to pin it in place. So my zip's facing up and my fabric's facing up. I'm actually going to face it down on one side and we're going to sew down there. Then I'm going to open it, face it down on the other side and sew down that way. We'll have a nice neat zip then. Got to put the right foot on the machine. So let's swap over to a zipper foot, which I hope is in here. Yes it is. So a zipper foot has a narrower bit here that will guide along the zip. Let's swap this over. So if that's going down that way, I want it on that side. Zipper foot, you can actually put it on in two places depending on which side of the zip you're sewing. So it goes that one or that side. I'm going to put it on this side because it makes sense for this zip. No, it doesn't. Wrong side. You want the zip to line up nicely with your centre seam. on your French seam. There we go. I'm going to go nice and slow. So pass halfway down, put the needle down, pick up the foot, and I'm going to slide the zipper up so that it's out of the way. Sometimes easier said than done. And that broke the zipper. Well, that's not good. How did that even attach? Oh, it just snapped right off. Okay, I'll have to come up with a solution to that. Anyway, let's carry on sewing the zip. So I did take the needle out, so I'm just going to go back a few stitches. And now you're doing a stop stitch. Thank you. Line everything back up again and carry on through the chaos. Little back stitch. There we go. So here we have the zips attached to one side of the skirt. So now we're going to go back up the other side. I'm not happy with that at all. I might unpick that and redo it. Yes, I'm going to unpick that and redo it, so bear with. Okay, so that's unpicked. This time I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to sew from the top down instead of the bottom up. This way I can make sure it's nice and lined up because it wasn't before. Because I rushed, and rushing's a bad idea. I get too excited. So I'm going to line up the top of the fabric with the top of the other side of the zip. Go so that they're both the same starting point. That looks better. And then sew it again. Let's have a look how that's worked then. Open it out. Oh, that's still not great, but it is better than it was. You see there's still a little bit of a pull in there. Can I adjust that? It's not too bad. It might steam out. It's not going to steam out. Maybe it's a stitch holding on from before. Or it could be in the French seam, I suppose. So this is why we do the zip first, because it's the most difficult part and it's the bit that's most likely to go wrong. So if we get that out of the way, the rest of it might just fall into place. if we're lucky. Trim all of these bits. Okay, now the rest of the skirt. This should be easier. I'm hoping this will be easier. So I'm going to switch back to my normal foot. Make sure none of the threads are stuck. There we go. Bye bye zipper foot. Let's do the centre seam, another French seam on our front panel this time. So I'm going to do the same as that one. I'm going to do straight stitch all the way down with wrong sides together. Think before you sew. And then turn it and do it with right sides together. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing for the side seams to put our 2 panels, well, our 4 panels together. Nice front seam. So I'm going to take my front seam, my front piece and my back piece, pop them together. You know what, this is reminding me awfully of school skirts. There's something a bit Upton about this. Oh well. Okay, and I'm going to do the same again, which is not that. Wrong sides together, so cut, turn, right sides together. So you can see from the shape of it, it's a nice structured skirt going on there. Yep, that's a nice fit. I'm happy with that. Ooh, this hippopotamus is not as sturdy as it looks when you sit on its head. Okay, so I'm going to trim the stragglies. Don't need them getting in the way, because next we are going to do our hem. So for this one, because it's quite a structured fabric, I'm going to do a bound single fold hem. Sorry, that took a second. Which means I'm going to zigzag over the ends all the way around, one stitch on, one stitch off to bind the fabric. And then I'm just going to turn it up singularly, one fold, and sew it in place. That should keep a bit of the stretch to it. So zigzag stitch, I'm going to make it wide and fairly long, 3.5 centimetres. Start at the side seam and away we go. Okay, trimming that. Now that's my zigzag done. See it around there. Now I'm just going to fold it and sew it. Now you can pin this if you want or clip it. I'm just going to fold it as I go. Do what you feel confident doing. Start again at the same hem. I'm folding it up about 1 centimetre, maybe 1.5 centimetres. I'm not going to pull this too much as I go because it'll result in a wobbly hem, but I'm going to put just a little bit of tension on it. so I finished that with a little back stitch. Now I'm just going to tidy it up, because I did accidentally do a little zigzag in there first. I'm just going to unpick that. There we go, that was easy. Trim them. Great. So now you can see nice hem. Don't know if the camera's focusing on that at all. Nice neat hem the whole way around. All we've got left to do now is the waistband. So I'm going to try it on now to make sure that there's no fit issues before I attach the waistband. Don't want to get that zip off the top. There we go. Okay, so I have a mirror over there. Actually, I have two mirrors over there. One's quite high, one's quite low. The middle section that I need right now is missing. So I'm going to step on my hippo. There we go. Okay, so it's quite big on me. It's very big on me. So I'm going to add in an elastic waistband just to cinch that all in a little bit. Make it a little bit more flattering. Hopefully pull that in a bit. Okay. Let's have a look at this then. Well, it is a waistband. I think it's a fairly ugly waistband. Let's untwist the elastic inside. And try it on. I'm convinced with this. I'm not convinced. I don't really like it. As they say on Eurovision, nil point. Let's see if Daphne suits it better. So I definitely made the wrong decision with this waistband. Et voila! So we've made a slightly bad skirt, which I'm not sure I'll wear. We'll see.
5 minutes later.
Okay, so I was watching that video back, and basically I can't leave this skirt like this. So I'm going to take it down off the mannequin, and I'm going to cut off the waistband because I don't like it at all. I'm going to sew in a few darts at the top, and we'll see how much better that looks. Give it a bit of shape, like the original skirt, which I should have paid more attention to. It's got a few darts. So let's add some darts. Okay. So going to lose a little bit of zip length just because I'm going to cut pretty much exactly on the zip. But it is what it is. Better. And I'm going to reuse the elastic, so let's pull that out. No point wasting it. Perfectly serviceable piece of elastic. There we go. Bye. That can go away. Might not need it. Okay. Keeping the ends of the zips nice and long for now. So I'm going to put in a dart on each panel. And I'm going to sew that dart about 5 centimetres down. I'm going to use my tape measure now. I haven't used this for this whole project. Probably should. Okay, so my waist measures comfortably, if I breathe out, 76 centimetres, which is 30 inches, we'll call it, that's easier for mathing. So half of that is 15 inches. So let's see how long my skirt is. From zip to centre seam, it is, this hippo is not secure, 16 centimetres, 16 inches, 16 and a half. So we're going to want to lose 1.5 inches on each side. 1.5 inches in centimetres is 4 centimetres. Let's work with that, that's easy. So yeah, if we add darts, which are 1 centimetre at the top, 4, so fold it in half, I'll sew 1 centimetre in there. If I do that 4 times, that'll take the whole thing in by 8 centimetres, and it should be 30 inches instead of 34-ish. And it should fit better. Okay, this is more exciting. We are getting somewhere. I'm using the markings on my sewing machine to measure 1 centimetre. And I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, down to where my thumb would be before. There we have 1, long dart. So I'm going to use that dart to mark the lengths of the others. Turn the skirt inside out, it's so much easier. So there we have a much more structured skirt already. Let's put this on. And oh, that is so much better already. See that? Much better fit. Obviously it's inside out right now. Look in the mirror. Oh, that is so much better. So it's still not totally flat, but it has really nice shape to it now, and I won't actually need elastic on the top, so I'm just going to fold top down and sew it in place. And that's going to be a waistband. That is so much better. Oh, I'm glad I didn't give up on it. Excellent. So now I'm just going to trim away the excess zip bits. Fold it back on itself and sew a centimetre hem the whole way around. So I'm going to do a zigzag stitch first. And then I'm going to fold that over . And do the top stitch. I'm going to top stitch it from the outside so I can monitor it, make sure it's very nice. And because I'm doing that, I'm going to clip it first to make sure it's the same the whole way round. I think I accidentally dropped my box of pins. Clips, yes, all over the floor. Still, there's some. Okay, and around we go, straight stitch, seam allowance of a centimetre, starting with a back stitch and going the whole way round. So let's see if this works. Well, it's not a great start in that the zip doesn't quite line up. It's a little bit off, but only a little bit. Let's pop it on. better, isn't it? That is a skirt I could wear in public. In the mirror. Yes. It's not going to fall down, but it's also not too tight. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad I stuck with that. That turned out better than it did at the end of the first video. I'll post some pictures of the end product so you can see it nice and close up. The zip's not perfect, there's a little pull in it at the bottom. But the rest of the skirt's quite nice now. Yay!